All right, let's talk about something truly incredible. You've probably heard about the dinosaurs, right? Well, today we're diving into the DART mission, humanity's first real shot at making sure we don't go the same way. This is the story of how we learned to move an asteroid.
So, picture this, September 26th, 2022. Way out in the blackness of space, millions of kilometers from us, a spacecraft intentionally crashes. And I mean, it slams right into an asteroid. This was no accident, folks. This was a deliberate, calculated cosmic punch.
And that really gets to the heart of the matter, right? It's the kind of question that probably keeps a few scientists up at night. If we spotted a huge asteroid heading our way, what would we actually do? I mean, how on earth do you stop something like that? Well, the answer is kinda simple, and at the same time, insanely complex. You hit it. Yep, you just ram it with a spacecraft. In this case, one about the size of a big refrigerator. It sounds totally like a movie plot, but that was the real-life plan for the DART mission.
Of course, for a tiny fridge to move a giant rock, you need speed. A lot of speed. We're talking 6 kilometers per second. Just try to wrap your head around that for a moment. It's just unbelievably fast.
So, yeah, this was definitely not some gentle tap. When you combine that mass with that insane speed, you get an impact packing the punch of 3 tons of TNT. It was a precision strike meant to literally alter an asteroid's course through the solar system. Okay, so why? Why go through all this trouble, all this expense? Well, the reason is probably one of the biggest what-ifs humanity has ever faced. It's all about planetary defense. You know, making sure we don't get wiped out. Look, we've all seen the movies. We know the history. 66 million years ago, a giant asteroid hit the Earth. And, well, it was a very bad day for the dinosaurs. DART is literally our first attempt, our first real test to write a different ending to that story. Now, let's be clear. The asteroid DART hit, called Dimorphos, was nowhere near the size of the one that got the dinosaurs. But don't let that fool you. An asteroid 160 meters across is still a monster. It would hit with the force of over 300 megatons. We're talking city killer level stuff, so the stakes are still incredibly high. Okay, so you've hit it, but how do you know if it actually worked? You're 11 million kilometers away. This is where the mission planners got really clever. The whole thing was designed as this brilliant cosmic experiment. And you might be wondering, why this asteroid? Why pick one so far away? It seems like it would make things harder. But that specific choice of target, that was the secret sauce. It's what made the whole thing possible to measure from right here on Earth. The trick was, they didn't just target any old asteroid. They targeted what's called a binary system. Think of it like a mini solar system. You have a big asteroid, Didymos, and a smaller one, a little moonlet called Dimorphos, orbiting around it. That orbit was the key. It's so cool how this worked. From our telescopes, the 2 asteroids just look like one tiny point of light. But as the little moonlet passes in front of the big one, that light gets just a tiny bit dimmer. So scientists timed those dims over and over, and they figured out the orbit perfectly. 11 hours and 55 minutes. The plan was simple. Hit the moonlet, and then just watch the clock to see how much the time between dims changed. Genius, right? So the measurement part was brilliant. But that's just the plan. You still have to hit a tiny rock millions of kilometers away. And that was an absolutely monumental engineering challenge. First off, the sheer distance. We're talking 11 million kilometers. Trying to hit something only 160 meters wide from that far away, it's like trying to hit a specific coin with a rifle from thousands of miles away. Just staggering. And that distance creates a really big problem: time delay. Any signal sent from the spacecraft takes 1.5 minutes to get back to us here on Earth. By the time Mission Control sees anything, the spacecraft is already 500 kilometers past that point. The moment has long passed. So what does that mean? It means there's no pilot, no one at NASA with a joystick making last-second adjustments. It's just not possible. In those crucial final moments, DART was completely on its own. It had to fly itself. And to pull that off, it had this incredible autonomous navigation system. The software was actually based on military missile technology. Every single second, the computer would snap a picture, figure out where it was, and then fire any of 12 tiny thrusters to nudge itself back on course. All of this happening at 6 kilometers a second to guide itself into a perfect collision. So after all that brilliant planning, all that mind-bending engineering,
Did it actually work? Let's get to the good part. Let's look at the results because they are truly amazing and they mean a lot for our future.
Okay, so this is just incredible. The mission would have been considered a success if it changed the asteroid's orbit by just 73 seconds. That was the goal. The actual results, it changed the orbit by 32 minutes. It didn't just succeed, it blew every expectation out of the water. 32 minutes! Let's put some hard numbers to that. Before the impact, Dimorphos took 11 hours and 55 minutes to go around its parent asteroid. After DART hit it, that orbit is now 11 hours and 23 minutes. That is a huge measurable change, an absolute home run. And a big reason it worked so well was just how unbelievably accurate that self-driving system was. I mean, it didn't just hit the asteroid. It hit it only 17 meters off from the exact center. That is a cosmic bullseye, plain and simple.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? I think one of the mission leads said it best. This is the first time in history that humanity has shown we can actually change the path of a celestial object. We proved we have what it takes to protect ourselves. It means we are, quite literally, a little bit safer today on this little blue marble of ours.
Remember, Dimorphos was never a threat to us. This was always a test, a proof of concept. But my goodness, did it work? Better than anyone could have possibly imagined. And that just leaves us with this huge, exciting question. Okay, we know we can move an asteroid, so what do we do now?